So as Amy said, I'm Cindy Sherman. I'm the planning director with the city. I just celebrated my 12-year anniversary. It's the longest I've worked anywhere, so I think that's a good thing. So we've talked about Target Campus a number of times, but it just really is the highlight for us. It really set the stage for us on Highway 610. And now they have recently completed their second building, so over the last over the last year, they've added 650,000 square feet. They continue to add employees. With some of the other things that have happened with Target, they aren't adding employees as quickly as they had originally intended, but we still have capacity for over 5,000 employees at the campus, and we'll continue to see those additions coming. This is a master plan for the Target holdings, if you will. The area in red is where their existing facilities are. The other area is land that they own and control and will be partnering with others to develop over some period of time. They have a vision for a master plan that includes some housing, a variety of housing, probably high density as well as maybe some medium density housing in the area that's yellow. And then the area just south of the campus, which they call their Main Street area, would be more of an urban sort of setting with commercial, office, some residential, perhaps over commercial, hotel sites, that type of thing. So their intention is to grow and develop that, grow their own campus, but then sell off those other parcels for development. And then the area on the bottom left-hand side of the slide is an additional corporate campus set aside, so somebody else could come up, maybe somebody that works closely with Target, and build a corporate campus on that side of the world as well. We also want to mention some institutional investments, because as our council recognizes, institutions bring something to a community as well. We've had discussions about tax-based versus tax-paying versus non-tax-paying, but I think the council realizes that an investment in the community is good. It provides to the fabric of the community, and so these are just a couple of things that have opened recently. The North Hennepin Community College Bioscience and Health Career Center, which is a beautiful building on 85th Avenue. It's been set up and for construction, so as the community college expands to the north across 85th Avenue, there's the ability to put in an overpass or a walkway for people to make that connection. So they're thinking ahead to the long term, and that site's also adjacent, the walkway will lead adjacent to the Hennepin County Library, which I'll talk more about in a minute. The other two things on the bottom left picture, that's the new park and ride that opened at 95th Avenue and Highway 610. It's a 1,000 park ramp, and then there's 500 spaces on the ground, and there is the ability to expand to provide additional parking as needed. This replaces an existing facility that was on the site, and it's really a cool facility. It was designed with the south face is all solar panels, so the pretty self-sufficient from a lighting and power perspective. So really looking forward that was developed by Metro Transit. And then the picture kind of in the middle, that's Athlos, which is a charter school that just opened in the community. I think recognizing choice in education, and this is a pre-K actually through 8th grade facility that focuses on mind, body, and learning as well. This is Olympus Surgical Technologies, which is a beautiful addition. The coldest day in January last year was the day they had their groundbreaking. So that picture on the bottom left, Governor Dayton was here, as well as our mayor, both not sporting overcoats, which was really, really cold, and I thought for sure we'd have to get the ambulance up to revive the mayor. It was so cold, but he's from North Dakota, so he says it's not an issue. Anyway, that picture, that the main facility was taken yesterday, and it's done on the exterior for the most part. They're still doing finishing work on the inside, but this is a beautiful facility that consolidated some 5 buildings they had in the city of Maple Grove, and they needed a place where they could put everything together and have room to grow. And so they actually have the capacity to add an additional 100,000 square feet to this building as their business opportunities grow, and they do research and manufacturing as well. Northcross Business Center, we were at the state planning conference last week, and I had about 4 or 5 people come up to me and say, what is going on at Highway 169 and 610? Well, this is what's going on. United Properties came to town, bought this land from a local investment group, and they have under construction right now 3 buildings. 2 of the buildings have headquarter tenants moving into them. One is Worth Adams, which will be in the building on the left side of your picture. I'm trying to do this backwards, so it's on your left side of your picture. The middle building is a speculative building. that they're building with the understanding that, you know, there's a lot of pent-up demand for those kinds of uses, and so they expect that to fill up rather quickly. And then the building on the right is a headquarters building for a company called Prebex. I never say that right. Perbex. Probably still didn't say it right. Anyway, they're again relocating, consolidating, and moving from Golden Valley, but they needed a place where they could put all their operations under one building. And so, you know, that gets at what the mayor's talking about. We have room to grow. We have these large land holdings where people can put in buildings and then have future expansion capabilities as well. So that other picture on the right was taken yesterday, and they have all the walls up on 2 of the buildings and almost all the walls up on the 3rd building. Tip-up panels are a wonderful thing for having a fast impact on a site. CarMax, which is something we've talked about for a couple of years because they had approval and then it took them a little while to get started, but they're actually under construction. They tore down the old Grand Rios building and are repurposing the site for CarMax. And if you don't know them, they're a Fortune 500 company. They sell used cars, basically. But it's more than that. They completely refurbish them, and they use this site will be a hub where you actually they will be doing all the work. And they've created a partnership with Hennepin Technical College to hire people and train people right out of the school. So that's really a slick thing for the city and the community, or the technical college. And the other thing that we didn't realize when they came to town is that the city has a deputy registrar at City Hall, and they will be doing all of their licensing through the city. And so that actually creates enough traffic for us that we're gonna have to add another staff person. But the income we receive from that through the state will offset that cost. So that's a win-win for us as well. Interstate North Business Center, this is a project where we have investment outside of the 610 corridor. Everybody talks about everything's happening up north, but this is actually happening along Botno Boulevard, or down on the south end of town. Was the old Signature Design Center that sat idle for a long time and was really underutilized. And First Industrial came in and bought this property and are actually under construction with 2 buildings. The first building closest to West Broadway and Botno Boulevard is going to be the home for Goodwill for all of their facilities related to, it's not just a Goodwill store. There's a little bit of a store there, about 10,000 square feet, but the rest of the building is all processing and training and their office uses for their corporate facilities. So that's a significant building. And then behind that, there's a building that was started as a speculative building, but now have a tenant whose name I forgot. Clearfield, which is a wire producing company that is used in communication. So they're taking about half the building, and that it was a very a situation where that they needed to be underway quickly, and so this fit their needs perfectly. Prairie Care, which is a adolescent psychiatric hospital, is under construction at Highway 610 and Zane Avenue. And again, if you've followed in the paper recently, there's been a lot of discussion how there's such a need in our state and our community, the broader metropolitan community, for this type of facility. So we're very happy to have them under construction here. They're intending to open next September. It will be a 50-bed inpatient facility, but then they do also offer counseling and other services for the community, the Minnesota community. It's really quite broad. And then again, talking about investment in people that are already here, Myers Printing is an existing company in our community on Boone Avenue. They're doing a significant expansion that started this year, and they are expecting to be open in 2015 with this expansion. And it's not just adding building, but they're actually making a $16 million investment that includes equipment and then a little bit adding employees as well to fill up that new space. 610 Commerce Center is CSM's entry into our community. I don't know that they have built here before, at least not for since I've been here, which it's been a little bit of a time. But they bought land up at West Broadway and 93rd Avenue. They don't abut 610, but they have some visibility to 610. And they are doing the site work right now and are in building permit process for this facility. They're building this speculatively. So they don't have any tenants signed up yet, but they are hopeful. And then Brooklands Avenues for Youth is an unusual facility that's under construction. The City Economic Development Authority is actually building this building and then turning around and leasing it to Avenues for Youth for $1. And what this is basically a youth homeless shelter. It's transitional housing for, there's 10 permanent beds, not permanent, but 10 beds and then 2 emergency beds. So the ability to house 12 adolescents, kids up to age 21 that are in transition with their housing. And I was really proud of our city council when the Economic Development Authority, acting as the Economic Development Authority, partnered to build this facility. It's hopeful that it'll be open in December, January timeframe. And they are doing a fundraiser on Saturday at Prince of Peace Lutheran Church. It's a musical event. They're looking for donations because they're always needing money. So if anybody wants to do a end of the year donation, this is something that is in our community and is really important. So those are things that are happening. How about what's approved or in process? This is Mississippi Gardens, which is a wedding and event center. It's kind of an interesting story. It's a local couple that own the property. They bought the old Riverfront Bar and Grill, used to be Rum Runners, used to be Crawdaddies. Kind of was a problem property on our West River Road. And they bought that site as well as 2 homes adjacent to it and tore all those buildings down and are going to propose, or are approved to build this new facility. It'll be a nice destination. Part of the problem they had after the road construction for 610 and West River Road was all modified, you couldn't get to this place, so they lost a lot of business as just a bar restaurant kind of facility. But in this case, it's a destination. You know, when you invite somebody to your wedding, you give them a map, they'll know how to get here. So we're hopeful that they'll be very successful. They plan to begin construction yet this fall and probably be open in about a year. Excuse me, Freddy's Frozen Custard and Steak Burgers. They are taking over the old KFC site on Edinburgh Center Drive. We've seen a lot of activity over in that part of our community. We also have Broadway Pizza that opened up next to Festival Foods. So continued reinvestment and growth in our existing facilities as well as new construction. The library is a Hennepin County facility that's proposed at West Broadway and 85th Avenue. This is a rendering of the library. It's going to more than double the existing size of the library we have today. Really a beautiful facility. I don't think the picture does it justice, but the plans are coming together to make it a beautiful facility. And then the green space that's at the bottom of the picture is actually a plaza area that's owned by North Hennepin Community College and will tie into the light rail station that's proposed to be developed at 85th and West Broadway. So I think it'll end up being a nice place when it's all said and done. Maury's, which is one of our local car dealers, we have a number of them, but they have a couple different dealerships, and they also have a body shop. So the top picture shows a tripling of their body shop facility that is over on Jolly Lane, just off Brooklyn Boulevard. They bought one of the old testing sites, if you remember having to go in and get your exhaust tested. Some people might not remember that, but we had to do that for a few years. They bought one of those facilities, made it into a body shop, and it's just really, they've just really outgrown that facility. So basically the piece in the kind of the left on the brown is the existing facility and everything else is new. So again, reinvestment, reconstruction, good things happening with an existing business in our community. And then the Subaru dealership on the bottom of the picture, they're actually adding a second story to that building. So the little pop-up you see, currently it's a single level facility. They're adding basically employee space for break room and that kind of thing to open up more floor space in the main part of the facility. And then finally, what's in the pipeline? What do we think is coming in the next year or so? Capstone Business Center, which is a property at Winnetka Avenue and 93rd Avenue, and this doesn't show our new interchange, we'll talk about that in a minute. But they are an out-of-state investor that bought this land at the height of when Target's big ta-da plans were announced back in about 2005, and then of course the recession hit and nothing happened. So they are working really hard to try and attract a user on that site. They're a design build group, so they don't want to just sell their land, they actually want to construct a building and get a tenant in there. The 169 Business Center is property that's just to the east of Fleet Farm. That site is owned by Fleet Farm and has been vacant for a long, long time. This is about the 4th or 5th kind of use that they've been trying to put into the site. We had a lot of neighborhood input into this process, and they're proposing to build basically an office warehouse facility. And they have partnered with, the buyer has partnered with Olympus to build this building, so we're thinking it'll probably start construction this spring. Gateway and Reload Investments. This is a property on the southwest corner. I always get myself turned around. Southwest corner of Highway 169 and 610. They recently sold a parcel to a charter school that will be building just north of St. Vincent's Church, but the balance of the site is intended for office and high-end use to really help us build our tax base. They are just in the process of completing the extension of utilities to the site. They actually had to go under Highway 169, and so it was kind of a big project and tied into some land on the other side of 169 that actually had to have their pipeline relocated and some other work done. So this is progressing after many years of fits and starts, I would say. Astor Village is a property at 610 and Zane on both sides of the road. It's owned by one family. It's 150 acres, minus the 10 acres they sold to Prairie Care. So Prairie Care is part of this development. And they have a partnership with Ryan Companies that is talking about doing some type of development, although they haven't submitted a plan to us. They have had some conversations with our council about intended uses, but right now the site is designated for office and some small commercial uses. They have a hotel site, that kind of stuff. But we'll hear more about that, I think, in the coming months. And then North Park Business Center is property at 169 on our very northerly border. It goes all the way up to 109th. It's about 230 acres, again, all owned by one family. They've completed their environmental review. They are impacted by an interchange study the city is doing, so they're kind of sitting tight for right now. But need to extend the utilities and do some roadway improvements to get this site ready for development. But I believe that will be happening in 2015. And then Park Commerce Center is a little infill project just south of Interstate 694 at the end of Modern Road, just north of O'Reilly, if you know where that is. There were 4 houses on that property. They're in the process of acquiring those. I think they've closed on one. The plan would be to tear those houses down and do a new development of some sort of office warehouse kind of building. And then one thing I want to touch on is a study the city's been undertaking over really the last year. We started about a year ago. We had a task force called the Signature Development Task Force that came up with some recommendations on what the community wanted to see. It was a task force of community members at our 610 Zane and Oak Grove study area. This land was all basically designated for commercial development, and the feedback we were getting from brokers and others was that it was way too much commercial and there wasn't a market for it, and we really needed to address what the community wanted to see in this location. So the task force made some recommendations for small area plans, among other things, and now we're in the process of doing a small area plan. This is actually scheduled to go to the council on October 20th with a recommendation to have basically more of a mix to provide for medium and high density housing, so we can get more bodies, if you will, to support the commercial development that is able to be supported in that area. The other thing we know from talking to different people as we went through this process, because we talked to landowners and developers and the community, is that we need more daytime population to support the commercial uses as well. So all these jobs we're seeing, all these buildings under construction will help the community get some of the other improvements that we want to see from a service perspective and a commercial perspective. And then, how are we doing on time? I need to talk a little faster. Transportation investments. We've completed $120 million in transportation investments, including a new interchange at Highway 169 and County Road 30, which is on the left. The Highway 169-81 improvements, which we've talked about previously. And then finally, Highway 610, which that picture shows you where it used to end at Highway 169. It's now been extended out to County Road 81, and now this is the plan for $100 million more of investment to come in our transportation system. This shows the completion of Highway 610 out to Interstate 94 in Maple Grove. Jamie talked about the groundbreaking is next week, scheduled to happen, and then the completion of the roadway will happen in 2016. So we're very excited about that. We think that will only help us more with some of the activities we're seeing along Highway 610 and 169 as we continue to grow. And then finally, I think this is my last slide, the Bottineau Boulevard. The mayor touched on this. This is now known as the Blue Line, so if you hear news about it, it's our hope that this development will happen. The schedule is about 2019, 2020. We have 5 stations in Brooklyn Park, which is more than any other community along the line. And so we're just starting with the station area planning process, which is actually facilitated through Hennepin County. They contract with a consultant to help us with that, but obviously the city will be very involved, because even if the line doesn't get built, and we think that it will, but if we want to be ready for it when the time comes and the funding is available. So with that, we're going to take a short break. Everybody can finish their lunch. We'll clear plates and get ready for the rest of our program. Thank you so much for coming.